Have you ever wanted to try the Faber-Castell Pitt Big Artist Pens? These are so fun to work with, and in today's video, I'm gonna give you some tips and tricks when you're using them. Welcome to Hot in the Shop. This is a series where we take a closer look at some amazing products available in the ArtSnacks shop. My name is Jenny, and I'm the mixed media artist behind an Artfully Lived Life. Over the next few minutes, you're gonna fall in love with some amazing products. So, stick with me to the end, and I'll tell you how you can get them for 15% off. Ready to take a closer look? Let's get going. Introducing a tree-free paper that's eco-friendly and luxurious. Legion bamboo paper works well for all printmaking techniques, pen and ink, dry media, and light washes. This pad of 15 sheets was especially made for art snackers, so you won't find it anywhere else. And a perfect match to go with the bamboo paper is the Faber-Castell Pitt Big Brush Artist Pens. The colors I'm using in this session are light cobalt turquoise, number 154, cobalt green, 156, cobalt blue, 143, and green gold, number 268. These pens combine a modern brush nib with traditional India ink. I swatched out all the colors and tested them with a few other products that are hot in the shop. I was feeling some really strong cactus and tree vibes, and don't be scared, but I was also trying to do a bear. I'm sorry you had to see that, but that's just proof that some ideas are better left unexplored. My son did help me pick the theme to go with, and we decided the desert theme was the best. Here is the final composition I came up with, and I'm kicking this off with filling in the sky with cobalt blue. The India ink in these pens is light fast and waterproof when dry. And because they are waterproof, you can build up beautifully rich areas of color. The challenge with the India ink is that you do see every stroke, and that can be perceived as a streaky look. And you can blend them out to some extent. However, in an area as big as this, you're still going to see most of the strokes unless you put in lots of layers, which will make it very dark. And that's not exactly what I wanted to do with the sky. So instead of working against seeing all the strokes, I decided to lean into it. You can see all my strokes going in the same diagonal direction, which I thought was really fitting for this area. For the mountain range, I'm using long vertical strokes in the light cobalt turquoise. The Legion bamboo paper actually allows the ink to sit on the surface a little bit before it dries, so you can get a better blend in smaller areas. And at this point, I decided to section off my mountains because it is easier to work in smaller areas, and these two sets of mountains will look different from each other by the time we're done anyway. To outline your section of color or not to outline? That is the question. Spoiler alert, that outline's just gonna get covered up with white ink later anyway. I really just needed to see where the top edge of those mountains closest to us was supposed to be. I did not switch out colors to do this layer of the mountains. It's the same light cobalt turquoise. But I hope you can see that layering up the same color creates a darker value and enhances the division between the mountains that are closest to us and the mountains that are farther away. The desert sand gets a delightful green gold color, and you'll see me use a variety of techniques on this bottom third of the piece. For example, in this small area, I'm kind of snaking around back and forth. This really blends the best, but it really only works in small areas. In some spots, I'm flicking my wrist up at the end of each stroke. I've placed a lot of items down in this sand, so there's quite a bit to work around. And in some spots, I can go back to those longer strokes. I think the difference in where I stop and start works really well for the sand, not just because I've placed a few plants and rocks in the sand, but also because it gives the sand a little bit different texture. One thing that stays the same though is that the marks are all horizontal. And yes, I planned this out. The ground has horizontal marks, it makes sense, it levels the whole picture. The mountains are vertical and the sky is diagonal. Like I said earlier, you can lean into it and those quote unquote streaky marks can actually become design elements. I add a second layer of that green gold in just a few select spots and voila, I've created some shadows. I extended that second layer all around the edges and I really liked how it turned out. I think it gave it quite a bit of depth. Let's darken up this ground line so we have a little more definition between the mountains and the sand. All right, we're starting to see some progress. Time to address the cacti. I'm taking my cobalt green and going along the form of each cactus. This is an easy way to suggest the natural ridges that the saguaro cactus has. This prickly pear is just the right shape and size for me to color in without any streaking at all. I can use the very end of the brush tip to fill in these nice long leaves. I think the key to working with markers like this, or any other marker for that matter, is having the right paper. And this bamboo paper has such a good feel to it. The pens just glide along the surface. I love the range in value you can get just by layering up this green. This center cactus is kind of the focal point, so let's take a little bit of time and give him some more detail just by using the green. Remember how I said I was testing out other art supplies earlier? Well, let's bring in the Zebra Mild Liner Double-Ended Brush Pen. This one's in smoke blue, which is great for the first layer of the rocks. The ink in these pens is very translucent, and it's waterproof, which makes it great for layering. And since that blue is really similar to our mountains, let's change it up a little bit by adding some pink over it. The two colors together create a grayish purple, which works a lot better for the rocks. But I really like how you can see that bright, almost neon pink peeking through in some spots. It's a nice unexpected color that breaks up the scene. Most of my line work is going to be done with a white gel pen. However, I don't get too far into this process before I decide to do another layer of light cobalt turquoise on that set of mountains that's closest to us. Yeah, I like more contrast between those two sets of mountains. Did you think I was going to go right back to line work? I'm watching this after the fact, and I did. But surprise, let's make some clouds. I'm using the Uniball Signo white gel pen to fill in these clouds, and I'll also be using it for all of my white highlights. And I always love adding a little shooting star in an evening sky. And finally, this poor cactus gets his attention. He was waiting so patiently for me to get back to him. There you go, little guy. And you know what? You get an outline, and you get an outline. You all get outlines. And don't think I don't see you back there, mountains. Of course, I'm going to show you some love too. Serious though, it is amazing what line work does to clean up a piece like this. This jagged edge where I started all of my brush strokes, all cleaned up. The edges where colors overlapped, all cleaned up. I chose white for most of this outlining because all of my colors are really strong here, and I figured that the white would break up the elements just a little bit better than a darker color. But there are some places where a darker line is going to look better. For those, I'm using the Kuretake Zig Furigagochi Fine Tip Brush Pen in Blue Black. This pen produces fine, delicate lines with just a little bit of pressure, but press down a little harder and you can thicken up that line easily. And that makes it perfect for illustrating or hand lettering. I'm adding it along the base of my mountains and along the base of all my plants. I'm also using it to give my rocks some detail and to add the ridges on the cactus. I could have used white to line these ridges, but when I did that on my practice sheet, I just thought it was really overbearing, so I decided to go with the blue black on the final piece instead. Look how perfect this pen is to make those tiny little spines. We're almost done, but let's counterbalance that pop of pink at the bottom of the page with some at the top. And the best place for it is at the bottom of the clouds. And to match the rocks, let's add a little bit of that blue right over top of the pink. I hope you've enjoyed this video. All the supplies I've used today can be found in a link in the description box below. And to get 15% off these select products, just use coupon code HOT15 at checkout. While you're here, don't forget to give this video a like, subscribe for more videos, join us for free over on Mix, and follow ArtSnacks on social media.